You could take questions if you want.
Okay, I'll see what I got here. Um, okay, we are live. I'd like to welcome everybody here to this hangout. I have a real special guest here today. His name is Jon Gillardi. Um, I'm not going to tell you a lot about him. I'm going to let him do that. But I wanted to get him on here because he's kind of an underground, type of guy, very successful, and he's responsible for bringing, Ingreso over here to the United States. So, Jon, how you doing today?
I'm doing awesome, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, thanks. So, Jon, can you just, for those out there that haven't met you or don't know anything about you, can you just kind of give a little story about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Well, I got in this crazy profession at 19 years old with the grandfather of them all, the Big A. I was a stockbroker. I was, in financial services. I had left home at a young age and got married. And I was introduced to network marketing, actually, luckily, by one of the greats in the industry who was in that company. He was called a Triple Diamond. I'm not going to mention his name because when I got in, I made a lot of mistakes. But I'll never forget, I left home, gave up, going to college, and I asked my dad, what do I need to do to make $50,000 a year, because I was getting married at a young age, leaving home. And he said, you'll be home soon, son. And I never went home. And got into financial services, and then was introduced to network marketing. And I just didn't see the reason to do network marketing anymore. Financial services anymore after I got the network marketing bug. The first couple of weeks I failed miserably. In the Big A, they don't really take any nonsense. And I was doing things I thought I could do in my skills, because I was so good at being a stockbroker and financial services, that I thought it would translate over. And it's not. The business fundamentals don't transfer over from one to the other. So my sponsor, finally, one time, I'll never forget it, I had driven to North Carolina 3 weeks in a row. I left work, got in my car from the World Trade Center, drove down to North Carolina, and got blown off 3 weeks in a row, and drove back and went to work tired. And I called up my sponsor. He blew me off again, but I'm going to go back next week. He said, I'm telling you one thing. If you ever mention that guy's name to me ever again, he said, lose my number. There was no Facebook or anything back then. And I really didn't understand. I said, yeah, but you don't understand. This one guy, he'll drive me to the top. And I really learned from that point forward that there's a lot of people out there. And I was taking it personally. And I thought that this one person, if they got in my business, would change my business. He was a high school friend. He was very successful at a young age as well. So that was my first experience. And luckily, I had the right sponsor who didn't pull any punches with me. And that's kind of translated to me now. From that point forward, I had a severe weight problem. A lot of people, if they've seen my before and after picture, know I had a gastric bypass February 16th of 1993. And then I got into motivational speaking. Then had left that company. I was with another company for about 6 years, did very, very well. They were along the same lines, and left that company and had my biggest home run in network marketing. That company was the first pretty much internet. It set all the records. We put 1.5 million people worldwide in that company, and I thought life was great. I ended up moving to Dallas, Texas. Now I'm a motivational speaker. I'm making all this money. I thought everything I touched turned to gold, and my ego took over. And I picked up my first drink of alcohol when I was in Dallas, Texas. And when I picked up my first drink of alcohol, within 6 months, I was a full-fledged alcoholic, drinking 1.5 liters of tequila a day. My wife, who left me, took my son, who I never saw again, still to this day. I ended up losing everything. I had a big mansion. I had all the cars and, your Lamborghinis and the craziness. But I was living a rock star lifestyle. The money went to my head. I thought I was invincible. I didn't invest very well. I was out partying until 6 o'clock in the morning, and then the alcohol kicked in on top of that, and I ended up being homeless, going to jail, losing everything, and basically full-fledged alcoholic for 8 years, homeless. when I mean homeless, walking on the streets in the homeless shelter in Dallas, Texas. It's called the Dallas Life Foundation. I go back there now when I'm in Dallas because I have several companies in Dallas. And I did a meeting not only 100 yards where I was in jail, where I used to look at the lot where they were building the Omni Hotel downtown that you see when they start to show Dallas, but the restaurant of the Omni Hotel right behind the convention center is where the Dallas Life Foundation is. And it's kind of funny, some of the best deals of my life and business contacts that I do at that restaurant was also 100 yards away where I was homeless and in jail the worst times of my life. So it was kind of surreal being in that area. So that's pretty much what happened. Gave up alcohol because I almost died, ended up brain dead in the hospital. They never thought I'd come out of it, going into a nursing home, went to rehab for about the 50th time. And this time I kicked it. And I was scared. And I decided once I got a second chance at life to really, if I could keep off the alcohol, I was going to be very raw. I was going to run my life a lot differently, whether people liked it or not. And no matter what the money was, I wasn't going to do something for the money anymore. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to give away the money and, and just say, okay, I'm going to do this for free. Everybody needs to make a living. But if something looks too good to be true, I'm not going to do it because there's going to be consequences. Because and Michael, I'm very vocal on Facebook. I believe, you and I played blackjack when we were in Vegas, and I believe it's the same exact thing. When I speak at events, the way I close my events is I say, listen, you guys got to understand something. I play professional poker, and the ultimate goal in professional poker is to come up with something called the nuts in Texas Hold'em. The nuts mean you have a hand that can't be beat because you can see the cards that flop. There's only 5 cards and you have 2 cards in your hand. Now, you will get a nut hand maybe 1 in 1,000 times. So what does that mean? What that means is most of the hands in poker that are won by playing the cards you're dealt. Okay? And if you play long enough and you play wrong enough, you will lose. In business and in network marketing, it's the exact same thing. You have to play the hand you're dealt. Everybody has different, whatever, if you want to call them disabilities or hang-ups or maybe an unsupportive spouse. But you have to play that hand. Everybody's got their own problems. I have my own problems as well, still to this day. Unbelievable. But what you have to understand is you have to play the cards that are dealt. And if you understand that. So with network marketing nowadays, if it's too good to be true and you're playing the cards that you're dealt, you might be able to skate the odds for a while. But over time, let's say 3, 6, 9, 12 months, okay, business fundamentals and the odds are going to play out. If something's not done the right way, the business will be gone. And unfortunately, in today's day and times, the business is gone for mismanagement, the company was underfunded, or the company was just a total sham. And that's unfortunate in the network marketing arena that we live in today, that there's a lot of that going around. A lot of the passive mentality of do nothing, write a check for 10,000, and all of a sudden millions show up in your bank account. It's just, like I say, God didn't come down and teach these people another way of making money. And then all of a sudden, a dollar is only going to be split one way. And if you're paying out more than $1, something's wrong. So that's, there's a lot of story in between. I talk about it in my book and stuff, but that's, where I am today from where I started, kind of a 50,000-foot overview.
Well, I heard this story, for the first time when we were together in Vegas. I was lucky enough to be able to hang out there with you for a few hours. Like you said, we played some blackjack, and I was blown away, to say the least, your history and what you've been through. And it's a perfect segue, too, into the next question, because everything you've been through, you have a really strict guideline, about companies you build and companies you join. And so I'd like you to talk a little bit about, how you even found out about Ingreso and what made you decide, obviously it passed those filters that you have, those very strict filters you have. If you can talk about what you liked about it, what you saw, why you decided to, to go all in with it and take it to the U.S., if you could.
Sure. Very fair question. It was fate, really. I was not looking for another network marketing company. Everybody knows I do multiple programs. I do not suggest that for most people. It used to be the thing that people coined a term that there was nobody making over $10,000 a month in two different companies. Well, I can name 10 people who are making over $100,000 a month in multiple companies now, some of them 4 or 5 companies. But we've all paid our dues for years to be able to do that. So I wasn't looking for another company. Opportunities come to me all the time. Facebook's an easy channel to get a hold of me too, and I'm sure like everybody who's watching as well. So something happened. I was speaking at another company event, and I ended up getting married at that event. And when I was in Vegas getting married, my phone went off about a day later, and somebody started talking about a cycler type program. And I had never partook in cycler programs. I have a lot of friends who've been in traditional cycler programs. I've seen them come, I've seen them go, and I have friends that have made millions of dollars doing it. I mean, good friends, but I've never done one in my life. So they had this new concept that they were going to do and group a bunch of people together and do a lottery system and join a program. And the program that they happened to pick was a cycler program from overseas. So I threw in my $175, and they did a big event on the Google Hangout like we're on now. And they wanted to make the little guy have a chance to be at the top of this program. It was like a hybrid of a team build. And the reason I did it is because everybody told me, well, everybody's coming to Georgia. You live in Georgia, and we're going to do this event about an hour and a half from your house. So there was going to be a lot of bigwigs at this event, so-called bigwigs. So I put in my 175, and I put it in my wife's name. And I go to the event, we pulled names out of the hat, and we did this big thing. And my wife actually, out of 390 people, came in 25th. And so my wife ended up making $900, that day from that. And I ended up making about $4,500 doing absolutely nothing. And I went to the guys who came up with the idea. They came to my house the next day, and we did a kind of a mastermind. And I said, now what? I said, people came in with this mentality of do nothing, make money. Now how are they going to build? Because if not, you're not going to be able to continue this again. It won't last, 2 months. Well, I was right. They jumped ship in 2 weeks because everybody who didn't get at the top of this didn't have any skill set to build their business. They didn't have a Facebook marketing strategy. They didn't have an upline mentor. Their upline mentor was whoever was the guy picked right before him, basically. So it was just a house of cards. And I said, listen, I can't partake in that. And that was the second week of October of last year, about 8 months ago. And then I went out, built my own other businesses. I had a big travel schedule coming up. And I get a phone call from a guy, I'm not going to mention who his name is, and he was down on his luck. And I've been friends with him for years. And he comes to me with every crazy thing every 2 months. And he never does anything. So he calls me up and he says, John, there's a cycler program. It's from Colombia. It has car bonuses. It has residual income. It has real products. They have real offices. And he goes down the list. And just because of I like the guy and we've been friends for so long, he said some things that didn't make sense because he didn't say cycler program. He said cycler program and then went on with residual income, real offices, real products. And I said to him, I'm not going to say his name again, but I said, I've never heard anything like that. I said, do me a favor, get me the link because either you started drinking like I did, but something is not right because I hear about everything. And he says, oh, yeah, by the way, it's 13 months old. And I'm like, wait a minute. I hear about companies 6 months before they even get started, and now you're telling me it's 13 months old. And he says, all right, I'll get you the info. So a couple of hours went by. And he didn't send me the info. So I text him and I said, where's my info? He said, oh, it's coming, it's coming. 2 more hours go by, he doesn't send it to me. I'm like, what's going on here? So I picked up the phone and called him. He said, well, to tell you the truth, John, I'm not in the program yet. He goes, I'm trying to come up with it because it's $50 to join at the starting level. And I'm not sure if me and my wife want to do it, and even if we have the $50 to do it, but we'll let you know in the next couple of days. I said, really? Are you kidding me? You told me all this, and now you don't even have a link to send me? I said, okay, and we hung up. So me and my wife went out to dinner that night. When I got home, I spent 4 hours trying to find this program. I looked up everything, Colombian and cycler and this and this and this. And I took a break. And finally, right before bed, I went at it again for about an hour. And I came up, and we still have the picture today, because if you know the car bonus picture with the lights flashing, okay, that picture is what I saw actually on the internet. I found that somehow. And there was a button to click that went to a YouTube video. So I figured I'm going to click this button because I couldn't understand anything on the website. It was all Spanish. And I clicked the button, and whose video pops up is Dwayne Golden. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I know Dwayne. Now, I knew Dwayne from about 9 years ago. And him and I were involved in a couple of the same programs. What Dwayne didn't know is that was right when I was an alcoholic. I was using computers from a public library in downtown Dallas, and I was trying to get back to be a top income earner in network marketing again while I was homeless during the day, using computers that you could only use for an hour before they kick you off and you have to sign up again. So I reached out to Dwayne immediately. We weren't even friends on Facebook. I watched the video. I understood basically what it was, but I wanted to speak to Dwayne. So I reached out to him, and I hit the friend request button and sent him a Facebook message, and I figured he'd get right back to me. And 1 day went by, 2 days went by, 3 days went by, and he didn't get back to me. And finally, Friday afternoon, he gets back to me. He says, "Hey, John, how are you?" I said, "Great, Dwayne, how are you?" He goes, "Good. What have you been up to in your life?" I said, "Well, we got to talk. What about your program, Julio Iglesias?" Because that's what the guy told me it was called, because he couldn't pronounce it. Now we all call it IC and everything else. And so he said, "All right." He goes, "I'll give you a call. What's your phone number?" And he goes, "I'm in Medellin, Colombia," because that's where Dwayne lives, and he has his place in Florida. So he called me, and we spent a couple of hours on the phone catching up first. And then he explained to me the vision behind Ingreso Cybernetico. See, Dwayne's been consulting before for big companies, companies that I am now consulting for or have consulted for. Dwayne knows comp plans. Dwayne knew the stigma of a cycler program. And Dwayne knew what could work in this today's age of network marketing and what couldn't. So I still wasn't sold, but I liked what he had to say. And he said, "Yeah, we've been thinking about bringing it to the U.S." I said, "Well, have you ever done it?" He said, "Well, actually, we did come to the U.S. We had some people who wanted to build it about 6 months ago, but they couldn't build it because everything was in Spanish. So they got very frustrated after about a month, and they moved on to other things." He goes, "I'll tell you what. I'm flying the first week of November." This was a couple of days before Halloween. He goes, "Next week I'm flying to my place in West Palm Beach. If you and you want to have some of your team that you work with all the time come to your house in Georgia, I'll fly up for a day and meet with you and talk with you in person." And I wasn't in the program yet. There was no program in the United States to join. And I said, "Yeah, that'll be fine." So we set up a time for Tuesday, I think it was November 5th, for him to come up. And we flew. He flew up here. I had some guys come down, and we met with them and a couple of other people from their corporate staff. We ended up coming to my house to shoot a video, which has been out there on the internet from back in the day. And that's the day we joined. And here's the reason I joined. I trusted Dwayne. It was holiday time, and nobody builds network marketing. And I knew if this is something that's really real and everything Dwayne is telling me is true, we're going to have till after New Year's to learn how to do this, and then we'll start building. So I got a couple of people on the phone. Some of them you're free to say their names if you want. And I didn't understand that they didn't realize it was 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. And I was going away to one of my timeshares in Orlando for a week or 8 days for Thanksgiving, and all of a sudden the group started taking off. I mean, old school. We weren't doing Facebook. It was three-way phone calls, nonstop from morning to night. While I was, in Orlando, when I was actually in the parks, and the group grew to about 750 people. And we had to learn cycler programs, but we had to learn cycler programs that were no nonsense, because you hear things in cycler programs like 1x2 into a 2x3 into a 2x5, and it's splitting boards and then jumping boards, and then if it's raining on a Thursday and all this kind of stuff. Dwayne explained to me, this is when 2 people hit your board and then 2 people hit your next level on your board, you cycle, you re-enter for free, and then you get paid residual income. And I'm not going to go into comp plans because I'm sure you guys do great trainings on that. So we learned that, and we started going to people who are experienced in these types of programs, and they had never seen anything like this before. As a matter of fact, your upline, people like Alfredo and stuff like that, he didn't even come into the business. I believe Alfredo came in on about a month after me. When they came in, and I'm not sure what date you started. It was not too long after that, in January, February, or something like that.
Yeah, January 1st.
What was it?
January 1st.
January 1st. So we started building. So then Christmas came, people were out shopping, people were doing 3-ways. On New Year's Eve at midnight, we hit 2,100 people. And we were like, wow. And then the company started adding new things and doing new things, and all of a sudden people started getting checks, and the company's coming to us and asking us, what can we do to help you build your business? And still everything wasn't in English. They had mocked everything up, which, you know, the site, and people would log in and we would try to get points for things, and you click on one button and you couldn't understand anything, and it was unbelievable. Well, from that November 5th day with meeting, and from those short calls, as of this morning, I think we hit with the team. Oh, by the way, yeah, he asked me to be the master distributor for the U.S. He asked me, he said, listen, if you're going to do this, we know that you do other things, and that's not a problem. Would you put your name behind it? And I said, yeah, if everything you're saying, I would feel comfortable just because of everything I saw so far. And it's been a dream come true for, yeah, great. I do well in network marketing, that's fine. But the lives that I've seen changed. I know your story, Michael, but people like your upline, like Jen and Mike, the day that Jen and Mike got in, okay, Jen and Mike were being evicted out of their house. I know Alfredo's story from what he did. He hadn't had a major success in network marketing. He had that hustle and drive like everybody, knows. But people like Tom, the furry hat guy, who I've known on the internet, but I've never met in person. Actually, next week in Miami, I'll meet him for the first time when we're all there. But now people are starting to take it a lot more serious. But the lives that have been changed, people like your Christine Tullers, and you see people, your Jermaine Taylors and stuff like that, who I know their story. They didn't have enough money for breakfast, police knocking on doors for eviction and stuff like that. Yeah, it's great that the leaders can make money. But when you see actually somebody that the day that they got in, that they were, if it wasn't wintertime, they would have been evicted onto the streets. And then you see where they came today. They just moved into a new place, I think, last week, and all kinds of furniture and doing things for their family and stuff. That's where it is. I think the last vacation they were on was 7 years before that. Then they went on, they actually took their cousin to the event that we did in Las Vegas in March. So that's what's really important. So it grew from that, where now the group is, like I said, 19,400 people. And to tell you the truth, honestly, I didn't think that we'd be at 1,940 people by this time. I thought it would just go a little bit, it would go a little bit. But to, now approaching in 8 months, almost 20,000 people in the organization, and seeing people grow on my 35th level, 40th level, and, these countries, your team, you guys just exploded. I remember when Alfredo came onto the scene, the first month I took every contest there was, for December and January. Then Alfredo came onto the scene and just dominated every contest. And then all of a sudden, everybody, I looked on the leaderboard, 30 positions were on my team. And I was like, I couldn't get on the leaderboard. My own team was knocking me down off the leaderboard. And now the same thing's happening with your team. You just won, I think, Alfredo's contest. You have the suite in Miami and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even shooting for these leaderboards anymore. I said, because these guys are just dominating. But that's what it's about. Because if the top guy is the only guy making money, it'd be great. I'd make money for a month. But if everybody underneath you is even making more money than you, then you have a pretty stable business, and that's what people really have to shoot for. Your goal should be, if you have a group of 100, if you have a group of 1,000, if you have a group of 10, okay, your goal should be is if those people are building it as a business that are underneath you, if if you got 10 people, you want those 10 people to beat you in income. You want to be number 11. Why? Because then you have a pretty secure business. If you are number one, okay, and you're always number one, and everybody in your group is somewhere above, and you don't, and you can't ever, they can't ever do what you do, okay, you better reevaluate your business and look for something else, because it's going to be short-lived.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, it's funny that you said, you didn't think you'd be at 1940 by this time, and that's, I think, exactly what I have just in my downline. Um, and the other thing that's amazing, too, that you mentioned, and I wanted to bring up is, a lot of businesses or companies like this that explode like this, to my experience anyways, usually have like some type of a system or a marketing system in place, and when this one is just word of mouth, just people talking, and obviously Facebook and YouTube, social media has helped spread the word even faster, but, we're just now putting together systems. I mean, we're going to have a system for our team here that's going to launch, before the Miami event, and I can't even imagine where that's going to take us. It's going to allow people to get into paid marketing and, and a lot more better of a follow-up, and so it blows me away how far and fast this is going without any of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I have Facebook Crusher on my drive. I know that Alfredo, in fact, Alfredo launched it right when he started Ingreso. I don't do a Facebook method. I've been doing this for 27 years. The way I build is a lot different. So, it's for the way I do things is different. But what you guys have put together as far as having actually a system, because I see everybody's posts, of course, because I get tagged in them.
Right.
That's what the little guy needs. The guy who's starting out, the guy who hadn't had any success, that's what they need. And, yeah, I can show somebody to get into paid traffic, but, they don't have the budgets to do it. There is ways to get into on the smaller levels and things like that. So, I've been speaking to Dwayne and Pete, and I know the system that you guys are coming out with. I actually watched the video and stuff like that. And I'm all for that, because to simplify it, to have a track to run on, because most people, they get into the business and they say, okay, what do I do next? What I've seen with your group, why you guys are having the growth that you guys have been having, is because that when they get in the system, you actually have a plan of attack. Just like Ingreso has the 30-day blueprint in the back office, which is the basic fundamentals, you guys actually have a plan of attack. Okay, you're in the business now, whatever level they came in, whether they come up to the business executive or depending whatever level they could afford to get in, you guys actually show that. And what I saw in your system is also the way that your system's going to unlock. So it's basically going to be like the keys to more training. So as you do this, and from what I know is that you guys are giving this system away for free. It's just that as you advance your business and unlock higher levels in Ingreso and more tools and more products with Ingreso, that they get more training for you on how to build those, because they don't need everything at once. So that's going to be fantastic. I'll probably even use it, because I want to see how it is. Because listen, I've been doing this, since I'm, like I said, 19 years old. One thing I learned is, especially in today's day and age with the internet and everything else, I always learn. I go on Hangouts. I actually use fake names a lot of times if they have the chat window open, because I was on 7 webinars today. They were internet marketing related, but I go on and learn. And a lot of the stuff I've heard before, and so I go on, I schedule it, and I log off. But once in a while, once a week or whatever, I get onto something that I'm like, wow, I've never even heard of that. Because in today's day and age, you have to continue to learn, and especially with Ingreso Cybernetico, we have so many tools, we have so much value. We just launched more today, like the Chat and Serve program. that'll be announced, with Dwayne that he did. The texting platform that's included in Magic Responder, that's back there, and all the other stuff that we've been doing some of the conversations with Dwayne on, that'll be announced in Miami. You have to stay at the forefront of this. You have to shut the TV. You have to know what products you have. You have to know how to use them, because that's going to give you your retention in the business as well.
Right, right. Now, there's a question I wanted to ask. I didn't plan on asking this, but it kind of, you just triggered something as you've been talking. One thing you mentioned was multiple streams.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted your opinion on, the new guy, because I see this happen so much. The new person, they hear multiple streams, they hear the so-called, gurus talk about it, so they just immediately assume that means I need to be in as many damn things as possible, and and I just see it, they're like shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, what's your opinion on that? Maybe, a guideline, for a newbie.
I didn't do my first multiple stream of income until 5 years ago, right after the stopping drinking. And don't get me wrong, I've been offered money to join companies. I've gotten money to join companies. I paid like everybody else. I'm at the highest level in Ingreso Cybernetico. I can show you my receipts for payment. And I have my father-in-law in the business, my mother-in-law in the business. They're at the everything but the $7,500 level. So I can afford to do that. I can afford multiple streams. There's products that I buy that save me time and effort. But as far as building something, you said specifically for a newbie, here's what I consider a newbie. If you're not making, if you have a regular job, for example, let's say you go to work and you're making, $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year. If your network marketing company that you started, that you've given, real effort to, I'm not talking about you joined it, oh, it didn't work, I made one phone call, and then a month later you're into something else. But if you've been in a business for, 6 months, 12 months, and you've given it every last effort you could when you had free time, okay, and it's not working, then you might want to move on to another different stream of income, not a multiple stream. Now, if you have been in a business for 6, 12 months, not 6, 12 weeks, and you got one bonus check for $10,000, okay, but if you've been in and you're making double, okay, what you made at your last job, because most people are coming from a job, not in a network marketing company, but if you're making $36,000 a year, if you're making on average $6,000 a month in your business, let's say Ingreso Cybernetico, and you've made that for 6 or more months straight, and it keeps going up, maybe even if it's going up $100 a month, but it hasn't went down, and you want to look at something else, you've earned the right to at that point. If you've joined Ingreso Cybernetico, or if you're thinking about joining Ingreso Cybernetico, okay, and coming and joining, Michael and his team, if you made $100 and you cycled one time, or if you join the business and you cycle one time, and a guru sends you their list for a launch, it's the latest and greatest thing, 999 out of 1,000 times, the company's not going to be here in 3, 6, or 9 months. And I'm not going to call any companies out, because that's what I like to do, because I don't like the way the industry goes sometimes, so I'll stay away from that. But if you're not making a consistent income, now if you didn't have a regular job and you've been trying network marketing and you don't remember your last job, and let's say you get in, you make $1,000 a month and your stuff, you're going to lose respect in the industry and everything else, because you don't have a stable organization. You can lose everything that you work for and be in a worse off situation, because here's the thing, it is a multiple stream of income. For one person, your upline, okay, because if you're in 50 different programs that some clown told you to join, and every day they're jumping into something new, and there's a team build, and there's this, and you got to get in because look, we put 55,000 people, name one of those programs that are still around. The companies that you see go like this, okay, because there's 4 stages of a company. There's what's called formulation, concentration, momentum, and stability. Formulation, concentration, momentum, and stability. Okay, and all these companies during formulation, 50,000 people get in. You can't name one of them, okay, that had a hypey launch that's still around today, ever. Every company that had trouble, there might have been some excitement, But then all of a sudden the excitement died down and they had to reinvent themselves. Maybe they lost a merchant account. Maybe they lost a big organization or something else. The companies that went through growing pains, the companies that reinvented themselves, but the key thing is the companies that lasted the test of time, okay, those are the companies that become household names. Now, Ingreso Cybernetico is coming up on their 2-year anniversary. Okay, so we've passed the hard stuff. But the hardest part is building the United States. Dwayne at first didn't want to, bring it here to the United States because there was a lot of legal technicalities. Colombia is one of the most legal rich states. It's almost like the United States. They don't pull any punches there. You have to do everything perfect and above board. And he knew that that was going to be here as well because he wanted to make sure that if this opportunity was done here, first thing that Dwayne says is that he does not he is never going to change the comp plan. Him and the corporate team, Juan Carlos and Jatan, they are never going to change the comp plan except for enhance it, okay? And they're going to run a legal, moral, ethical business. They're not here for the fast buck. You can see what they pay out and everything else. They're trying to add products and services so that it keeps retention to build residual income. Don't get me wrong. You can have some great days in Ingreso Cybernetico, but some of the best days that I have is when I refresh my screen, okay, like I do probably 100 times a day, okay, and I see $5, $8, $20, $30, $5, and stuff like that, and all of a sudden for the day I made $462, and I didn't sponsor anybody, I didn't cycle, and that's just from people paying their admin fee and everything else. That's residual income. That's what you get in for. And a lot of people say, yeah, you really care about that. Yeah, $462 is your grocery bill or whatever thing else. So that's what your ultimate goal is. So going back to the multiple stream for what the question was is, unless you've had success and if your check has grown for 6 months or stayed stable and not went back and you've been on vacation, you haven't earned the right to do a multiple stream of income. Okay, and you know what? When somebody calls you up about something, look at their track record. Real simple. If you're friends with them on Facebook, go to their Facebook wall. You probably don't have to go back even 3 months. I'm not even saying 2 years. Go look at how many deals. Okay, if they've pitched 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deals in the last 6, 12 months, it's not going to change. Okay, it's a lottery mentality. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it definitely did. One thing that's great talking with you, John, is you give more content in 30 minutes than an interview with another person for an hour and a half. So you're giving all the great answers. Me personally, for that, I learned the hard way, like a lot of people do. I was that guy that jumped around, what they call it, the shiny object syndrome, and added programs and jumped around, and I really never found success until I just, sat down, put my nose to the grindstone, and just stuck with one program, one marketing, avenue, one marketing style, I guess you could say, or strategy. One strategy, one program, and just do it until I succeed. And then for me personally, I didn't want to add multiple streams until I got past, say, 10,000 a month, pretty consistently. And even then, I'm looking to add like non-network marketing stuff as a stream, like affiliate marketing or CPA marketing, things like that. Because I don't know how you guys do it. Building multiple teams. I have had enough time building my one team. That's a skill I just don't have right now. But
I outsource a lot of stuff. My other businesses do very, very well outside of network marketing, because your ultimate goal is to make enough money to invest into different things, whether you want to get into stocks or you want to get into trading or into Bitcoin or you want to get into real estate or whatever else. Your ultimate goal is to build up enough money. And you know what? And I'll get back to it, one of the stupidest thing I hear people say, well, Bill Gates and Donald Trump and Warren Buffett have multiple streams of income. Yeah, now they do. Okay, they didn't have them when they were starting out. When Warren Buffett started out with $800 in his bank account and built it to billions of dollars, okay, what was he going to go buy? How many businesses are you going to buy with $800? You need to have a constant cash flow. Cash flow is the key. Okay, the reason that Apple or Facebook or anything else that they buy companies like WhatsApp for $18 $1 billion when it's not even worth $1 billion is, number one, to take out competition, okay, so that they own it, because you have Google and you have Facebook and you have Twitter, okay, but they have cash flow. Apple's sitting on 150 billion in cash. Okay, yeah, they're going to expand into multiple streams, whether they work or not. They do it. But if you have $100 a month coming in and your spouse hates network marketing, okay, and then all of a sudden you got another auto ship or you got anything else, okay, and that's it, then, I mean, you deserve to, you're not making a smart business decision. Now, if you got $10,000 a month and your bills are $4,000 a month and your kids are able to go to the, water park in the summer or go eat sushi 85 times a day like Michael Martin, I'm the only person that eats more than me, and I'm a sushi, you know that I'm a sushi fanatic too, and I like doing that. But if your bills are paid and stuff like that, and you have discretionary income, okay, and you can do that, that's great. Okay, but $100 that you made in the business, that you scraped up 100 to get in, and you made your first $125 check, you reinvest back into the current business. You keep scaling it and scaling it and scaling it. I reinvest 90% of the money I make back in business. In the beginning, I actually take money from my other businesses and put into a new business, and don't take any of the money for a while. Getting multiple checks is great, okay, but you're not going to build another business, okay, if you're new and you haven't had success in one. There's no magic thing. And here's the thing: if everybody's getting into it, okay, because there's probably 10 of them that launched in the last month. I'm not going to mention names, but if 10 businesses launch and all of a sudden, oh my God, 150,000 people, and they jumped into this app thing, and it's this new casino, and you don't have to do anything and stuff like that. Really? Name one that's worked. Name one. I give people a chance.
Potential earnings. I love that one.
Yeah, potential earnings. Okay, potential earnings. I love that. You know what? The potential earnings is great. I think Alfredo's up to 100, and I'm not even going to say what it is. I know he's up to a lot of money. I see what you got. I mean, what did Tom make his first three? I mean, I lost track.
He's only been in 2 months, and I think his total's over 18,000.
There you go. Okay, and does Tom have a following? Does Tom have this? Yeah, he does. But guess what? Every time I look on Facebook, because we weren't even friends before on Facebook, we'd see each other, but when he got into Ingreso, we became friends. He talks about Ingreso. He's at masterminds. He's reinvesting into his business. He's talking about Ingreso. He's doing Google Hangouts. I stalk your guys' Google Hangouts like the one you're doing right now. I stalk Alfredo's and stuff. I use my dummy accounts, and I get on there to see what you guys are doing, because I like to have my hands on my organization to see, man, I mean, because I see leaderboard, car bonuses. I mean, yeah, I remember my first 2 months I made $12,000 in car bonuses, and I see what you guys have been making over and over and over and over and over. So you guys are doing stuff. I want to see what you guys are doing because it works. And people who and what's the funny thing is, everybody on your team, I know a lot of people in network marketing. I don't know any of them. All these new people coming in, I see these checks that even from other countries now, that people are posting checks, and I look and I search my organization and I see where they're from, and I see how their email address ends and stuff like that. It's amazing to me. These are not seasoned network marketers who come in, they're gurus. These are average people, that are having $300 days, $600 days, $1,000 days. That's pretty impressive, because you don't see that in the other companies. You see the gurus always make money. Okay, yeah, we can jump into anything. If you want to call me a guru, I don't like it. Okay, but I could probably jump into anything, legal, not legal, whatever, and make money. Okay, but the average guy's not going to do that. And you'd be hard-pressed to find another company that's legal, moral, and ethical with the products that we have, that's almost 2 years old, that does regular conventions, that takes real credit cards, that has state-of-the-art products, that the average person's making money. You can have money games that the average person threw in $10,000 and he got his friends to put in $10,000. Yeah, because those are rev share whatever models and stuff like that. Okay, but actually where you have to go out there and do it. And yeah, and Ingreso, once in a while you can get the luck of the draw, and then have a good board that moves fast. But your ultimate goal with Ingreso is getting people to use the product so they pay monthly.
Right. That surprised me too when I got into this. Same exact thing. You said it perfect. How many people that we don't know, the checks, you usually see the same names on the same checks and the same companies. and just to see these people, coming in, never making a dime ever before. I mean, I've seen people on Hangouts like crying, because it was their first, check that they've ever made, and they wanted to tell everybody about it. And, it's really cool to see. And you mentioned the countries. I've got two really, good-sized teams in Slovenia. I don't even know where that is, but but I better find out because it's that way. And but they're killing it. They're killing it, and they're doing, and they're doing even older school stuff there. Because I do talk to them a lot, and they're just having meetings. They're driving people, the old school, into meetings and signing people up. And
that's how the Colombians did it. The Colombians they do hotel meetings. They do it old school, belly to belly, face to face, because in their market and in their culture, they're not Facebook people. We got to meet some of them that have been in since the beginning in Vegas, and they'll be in Miami with us. And there's a different kind of trust factor in that culture, where they want to shake your hand, look you in the eye before they give you money and work with you. And once they do, they'll go to war with you, and then it's a different story. But they're not Facebook. I see some of them try to do some of the stuff that you guys do and what we do. They try to do a little bit of it, because you can tell, because I can't understand the checks. I can see the Ingreso logo, but I can't understand what they say on them except for the dollar signs. But they're doing it belly to belly, face to face. It's unbelievable, and you have to do what works. And the Facebook crusher method you couldn't do in a certain country if you have bad internet connection. But they're getting it done. Here we're blessed, and we're lucky that we can build it. I mean, yeah, you see me in this Led Zeppelin shirt like this, but I'm in my sleep pants that I wear and my flip-flops right here. I actually had to go upstairs, change, and put on a clean shirt because I've been sitting on the couch all day, just playing on the internet. That's my job. And it's funny, you and I talked before the Hangout. My wife's friend from high school and junior high, she comes down to our house every summer from New York, and they're down here, and they're actually outside on the patio right now. And she sees how I am on Facebook and stuff like that. But whenever she comes, she sees what I do for a living, and she says, "Are you going to work?" And I'm like, "That's all I do is work." And she goes, "No, you're always on Facebook, and all you do is have this thing in your head, in your ear all the time." I go, "That's my job." And they don't comprehend it. They just don't comprehend it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's funny. I just the other day, my family and friends have no clue what I do. Even on Facebook, because the strategy I have, only certain people see my posts. And so my family and friends, I've been marketing on Facebook for 2 years. I've never seen one business post ever. My brother finally called me up yesterday and said, "What the hell do you do?" We know you don't work. We know you don't go to a job. He finally asked me, so I finally told him. But let's see here. We're coming up on an hour, so I have one last question. Now, for people that do join, and those of you that are on our Google Hangout page, the join button's right underneath. Go ahead and hit that whenever you feel inspired to do so. And but for people that are going to join and people that are already joined, is it important, do you think, at all to go to conventions? I mean, is there any reason to go to them at all?
Absolutely. Let me give you a little story. When I told you my story at the beginning, I told you after the Big A, I went to another company. I was there for 6 years, and I was top in that company. There was a gentleman that I sponsored and his wife. When I first joined that company, it was my second company. And I had some success in the Big A and all that, and then I had success in this other company. I sponsored this guy, and he lived by me. He would be on the phone with me every day. He never did a three-way, but he would call me and ask me questions. He would come to every hotel meeting and never bring a guest. He would come to every regional 4 times a year, okay, and then every annual convention. And he was probably spending a good $15,000 a year, and this is in the 90s, and never sponsored one person. I'd get off stage at a big event. He'd come shake my hand. He was personally enrolled by me, and there was nothing I can do. I mean, he was the nicest guy in the world, but he'd show up at everything. And after every annual convention, okay, he used to say to me, "I'm going to be up there next year. I'm going to be up there next year." Well, I decided that wasn't the company for me after 6 years, and I moved on. And several years later, I was actually, because I was still friends with a lot of the top leaders over there, I went back to New York, and they were having one of their like dinners after a hotel meeting, and they invited me, and everybody knew me, from that, and we were still friends. I went to high school with some of these people, and lo and behold, the guy that I sponsored was there, and lo and behold, he was second level from the top because I had sold my position. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, he was the fastest growing person 2 years after you left, and blah. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. I said, man, I must have been a crummy sponsor. He goes, no, he hung around long enough. Something clicked at the right time. You see, when you go to the convention, it's great. Like we're throwing the event next, Thursday and Friday in Miami. And it's great, and you're going to get a lot of content. You're going to see people walk across stage, if you're new, with big checks that we all get. And, you're going to sit in meetings, and then we're going to have lunch together and stuff like that. That's all well and good. They're going to tell you about all the new stuff that's coming out and what the vision is for the company and stuff like that. And you know something? That's all great, but it's all garbage. That's not where you make the money. The money is before the meeting in the hallway, after dinner in the bar area, hanging out playing blackjack with Michael Martin, who we've been friends on Facebook for a year. We sat at the blackjack table for 4 or 5 hours or whatever and kept coming back and forth. That's where you get to not only pick people's brains, but get to know them and see that they're a real person, and ask them to see the way that they act. And the belief level goes up for one reason. You see that these people aren't Superman, okay? You see that they're regular people. Well, he's going to eat that. Jon Gillardi just put so much ketchup on his burger. Does he know that that's bad for him? And, oh, he wears that kind of color. Wait a minute. He's not unbreakable. Michael Martin, that's the guy. Oh, when they meet me, it's even better. They're like, I thought he'd be taller. No, 5'6" is about as tall as I get. Okay, I always wish someday I'm going to hit my growth spurt. But what you do is you get to meet people, you get to see they're real, and what something does is it might be your first event that it clicks, and it might be your 1,000th event that it clicks. But I can tell you this, I've never met anybody who's had success that has not went to a major event, ever. Okay, you either got to go because it's in your contract, okay, when you start making some big money. But then the big people who do that are some of the gurus come in and they never go to the event anyway because they moved on to something. But the people who are the regular guys, do that. Now, Ron Harshman, okay, I got to meet him there. And Ron's business had just gotten going in the beginning, and I met him in Vegas for the first time. His business is exploding now. Okay, his business is exploding around. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't think he had any success in any other companies before Ingreso. I know he raises, I think, the llamas. I think that's what they are. But you see people like that who weren't gurus who come and their belief systems go up. Young kids that are 18 years old who just turned 19, like Jermaine and people like that. That's what you see. The belief level goes up, and you get to something happens at an event. And the event's well and good, but what you're going to do is spend time with those people afterwards is great. We go all to lunch and dinner. We hang by the pool if there's time. You and I are actually staying for a couple extra days, till Monday. Going to hang out, go there. That's what it's about. And something happens there. And, sometimes we do little breakout sessions and different things. So I can't stress the importance. I have never seen anybody make money that's never went to an event. Okay. And something happens.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, I've never heard it said exactly that way before, and it's so true. It's about the connections, about the people that you meet, and that's what hit me most when we went to that was my first convention I went to ever for any company, and that was my experience. I remember the people that I met, the things that I learned, and I was really quiet and I just listened to everybody that was talking, and I just took in, all the information, and you just walk away, like you said, with the idea that it's real, that it's real, and you take it more seriously. I was just talking about this on a hangout last night. Someone was interviewing me, and you know, it frustrates me how people come online and they don't treat the online business like they would a brick and mortar business. I always use the example like if when you paid your dues for Ingreso, if that came with a brick and mortar building on the corner of Main Street, you'd get up earlier in the morning, and go in there and work. You'd stay later. There's something about that physical building that just make you work harder. But people don't think the same way when they're online, and it's the same thing. And
Exactly.
and when you get out of your little box here, and Facebook in your room or your house, wherever you're at, and you go out there and you meet other people that are doing it and that are making money. And like you said, it's not hardly any of them's gurus. They're all just everyday average. Like Jen and Mike was a powerful story at that event. Like you already said, I mean, they were going to the food bank to feed their kids.
Yep. Well, look at your own business. You just said it was your first event. That was March 8th. Okay, I know the exact day it was. Yeah. You and I were sitting there. You had an okay business, but I could tell that when you were there, you weren't treating it very serious or anything else. Nothing against you, but right. I've been doing this for a long time. But your business at least is 5 or 6 times itself, exploding all over the leaderboards. Just won another contest, averaging car bonuses. Probably what you made in car bonuses in the last 3 months, maybe 4 months since the event, is more than you've made for the check that you got going across stage, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. In another hangout, I mentioned the fact that just my car bonus and my contest money, that pays more than pays for my living expenses. And then all of those checks that I get that everybody sees, that's all extra, extra money. So it's and it's all sparked from that, from going to that convention. It really does something. I was never a big believer in it. A couple of years ago, you would have told me that. I said, "Oh, that's all bullshit." But it's true. I mean, it's absolutely true. I'm a product of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, you see people go across stage. I mean, I get these checks, and I get more proud when I see somebody who's struggling that I see get $125 because their belief level goes up. It's not the $125, but when somebody makes that, it's like, I'll never forget. I was this big network marketer who lost everything and was homeless and all that stuff. And I got into the internet marketing world. See, a lot of the internet marketers try to get into network marketers, and they become tore up because they have to deal with people. And see, the network marketers who become internet marketers, we have an easier way because we already know how to deal with people. We don't have to, especially the old school ones. So what's funny is that, I lost my train of thought, but when I got into internet network marketing, I saw these people who were making $20, $50, $100,000 a day. And I'm like, what is all these guys talking about funnels and this and this? And I'm like, I can't understand it, but I jumped in, I spent money, and now, yeah, it's second nature again, but I'm always learning. But the day I woke up in the morning, I'll never forget it, and I got my first opt-in, not sale. Somebody opted into a capture page, and I woke up, and it says somebody's requested more information and did it, and we're going back a few years. I was jumping around like it was my first 19-cent check that was sent to me in the Big A, because we used to give each other checks. Your upline wrote you a check. Okay, I was just as excited. It brought me back that I got an opt-in. Well, when you get that first check, in Ingreso, $125 or something like that, and you've never made any money, okay, that's just like a guru getting a big check, because that's a big check to somebody else, because it's big, because it increases. Okay, if you made that, and I can tell you this, once you get the first check, that's the hardest. Okay, and then your goal is between $5,000 and $10,000 a month, which you can achieve, working 2, 3, 4, 5 months consistence and persistence. But once you hit that $10,000 mark, okay, it actually is easier going from 10 and adding a 0 to $100,000 a month, believe it or not. And that might be over some people's heads, but once you have that belief system, the hardest thing is the first check, the next hardest is 5 or 10, and once you have that consistently coming in, then it's okay. How do I maximize and scale what got me here to there? because you've already accomplished the skills. Now you're going to fine tune them and become more efficient, because now you're going from recruiting on your own to helping teams. So that's a big thing. So you have to be available, because my time's not spent in recruiting. I haven't made a recruiting call myself in probably 10 years. People call me, okay? My stuff's done through paid traffic. All my day is three-ways and conference calls and Skype calls and Hangouts and stuff like that. It's for everybody else, because I don't have time really to do it on my own, pick up the phone and do three-ways and say, hey, this is John. I want to tell you about Ingreso Cybernetico, okay? I do it a little bit differently. And that's what it is. Once you have a team, even when your team's 5 people, 10 people, your goal is to go out there and help them duplicate, okay? Because in this comp plan, in Ingreso's comp plan, it's killer, okay? And your job is to get it to duplicate, because if you get it to duplicate, okay, you'll be taken care of.
Yeah, it's true, and this thing duplicates like crazy if you do it right. I mean, you talked about my numbers. I'm about to break 2,000 here real shortly, and I've only been doing this 6 months. And for someone else that might be nothing, but for me, that's an amazing feat. That many people in a downline, and again, seeing those people make checks. I mean, I get so excited about that. I mean, it's literally the first thing I do in the morning. The computer's right. In the next room over, I get up and I go right to the computer and check on Facebook to see, what team members made a check today, because it's just awesome to watch. It's awesome to watch.
It is. I mean, because then it's a good feeling. Back in the day when I started, when I told you I lost everything and stuff, it was how much money did I make today? Okay, I never really cared about anything else. And you want to call it God, you want to call whatever, who smacked me down or something like that. But now people call me up. I mean, it humbles me, but people like Jen and Mike, and in a lot of their posts, you probably see them. They always thank me and thank Pete, and I'm very hard on certain people, especially people like Jen and Mike, because I knew they needed it, and if they, they've taken a lot of, backlash from me for not doing things the right way, because I've been trying to teach them, certain things, to smooth things out, because they have some huge organizations now, and but to see actually, I don't like, everybody thinks, I'm used to the checks and I'm used to the limelight and all that good stuff. But when it really comes down to it, it makes me kind of feel weird inside when people thank me now, for certain things, because I look back on the mistakes I made in my life and everything else. And yeah, it feels good that the people are making money. But when, you see Jen and Mike last week, at a barbecue with their kids for 4th of July, and their kids are on slip and slides, and you see you're out with your kids, and you weren't in the same financial situation, okay, everyone, but you see people doing stuff, and when you know that their kids almost didn't have a roof over their head, and now they're out to dinner, they're by their father a TV, they were sleeping on the floor, they were getting food at the food bank, because I remember the conversation on New Year's Eve, on Christmas Eve, where they were starting to make money, but it was cycle money, and it was hit or miss. And we told them they needed to reinvest to their business. And it was I'll never forget, they called us up screaming at us. I'm not going to use the words, but they ripped Pete apart on that phone call on Christmas Eve. 2 days later, they cycled it the day after Christmas and made, I think it was $1,500. And all of a sudden it was, oh my God, you were right, and blah, 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 blah. And to see that now, because it was a learning experience, because people are scared. It was scared where you didn't know where your rent money was coming from in 7 days. It was the middle of winter in Boston, and then you wrote, that check to Ingreso Cybernetico for a higher level, okay? And then all of a sudden now it's Christmas and you could be evicted, and you don't know what's going to happen. It can mess with your mind a little bit. But we did it for the right reasons, and everybody knows how that worked out. And now we're seeing that with hundreds of people, and I'm sure I don't even know some of the stories.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite things about you is, you're a straight shooter. There's never a mystery about the point you're trying to get across, ever.
Ask my wife.
And you were very good on this webinar too. I was surprised you didn't say a couple things about some stuff, but it's awesome. This has been like one of the best hangouts I've had in a long time. We're hitting on an hour, so I think we're going to close this up. If you guys are, like I said, interested, whoever sent you to this video, it doesn't matter who it is, get back with them. get their link, and get in this business. I think, John will agree with me as well. I mean, the timing is perfect right now. We've gotten this far just by word of mouth. We're throwing some systems now in place, and it's just going to blow this thing through the stratosphere. So,
Hey, I want to do something for everybody on here.
sure.
You have to control it because I'm not going to give out the link.
Okay.
But anybody who joins, and if you're going to record, if it's recorded and it goes out on YouTube or whatever, and if you want to keep it open, you can have them send you an email and give them a link to my book,
Okay.
and they can have my book for free. I don't want to give the link out now, but if they join the business, I'll give them the digital copy of my book. Not the hard copy, because then I'd be sending out way too many hard copies of it.
Yeah.
But you control that, so if anybody's in your organization, you just can give them out that way and stuff like that. But I'll let you control that.
Oh, thanks. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. So you hear that, guys, from John. He's got his book. He's going to give you, just email me, and we'll figure it out. We'll work it out in the group, but get back to me if someone, if you're in my team and someone joins you, we'll figure it out. We'll get you the link, and we'll get you the book. And John, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're super busy. You mentioned you're on like 7 webinars already today. I'm so thankful you squeezed me in on top of all that. And
Of course.
I appreciate your time, and I cannot wait to chat with you down there in Miami, and maybe even squeeze in a little blackjack.
Yeah, definitely got to squeeze in some blackjack and stuff like that. And I saw something about a yacht and stuff. I wasn't invited. I saw that. And hopefully there's going to be a lot of people that are watching this webinar that I'll get to meet in person. And yes, I am only 5'6" with heel.
I know, it's true. It's true. I mean, I'm 5'8", and you made me look tall in our picture together.
Yeah,
So.
thanks a lot.
That was like good. But as far as the yacht, I think all those types of things, I think it's automatically assumed that that John's allowed to show up. Thanks again, man. And again, guys, boom, hit the button, get in, and we'll take care of you. Thank you, John.
All right. Good night.